There are 4 types of AI agencies: those who can sell, those who can deliver, those that can do both, and those who can't do either. The ones who can only sell are out of business within 6 months. The ones that can only deliver never sell and never get paid or work under somebody. And those who can't do either, well, you know what happens. Then there are the ones who master delivery. They're the ones that are building 7-figure agencies with recurring revenue streams. The difference isn't technical skill, it's having a systematic process that clients love. I'm about to show you what this exact process is, including the sales call, pricing structure, and delivery framework that nobody talks about. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear idea of how a voice AI project is structured and progresses, and how to systemize your delivery process so you can build your $1 million AI agency. If you want a voice AI project done by me, book a call with me down below. If you want one-on-one consulting with me to learn how AI can be leveraged into your business or agency, fill out the form down below. Let's get right into it. So I will divide this video into these sections. First, I will start with the sales call, what you need to talk about in your sales call, what information that you need to collect, and how to effectively close your clients. And then I will go on to the pricing strategies for you to adopt, and then I will go into the build process, and then I will go on to the onboarding, and then I will cover everything in service delivery, from onboarding to the build itself to testing, deployment, and optimization. So first, I'll briefly go over the sales call that you are going to have with your prospects. This will be very similar to the typical high-ticket sales calls that you may have experienced if you have run an agency before, or if you have run high-ticket services before, such as a coaching or a consulting offer. So anyways, it's very similar. I'll just briefly go over this. So first, starting with the sales structure, you just first start by building rapport. Just talk about where they're calling from, what they did over the weekend, if they like the latest football match, whatever, just to break the ice. And then you want to go straight into the discovery and information gathering. So remember, you want to be the one leading the call. You have the agenda for the call, and your purpose of the call is to lead them through the agenda and get all the information that you need. They shouldn't be the one taking the lead. They should be the one to provide you all the information that you need. And then once you have collected all the information, you just want to go straight into the pitch and then the presentation, handle any objections, and always close with the next steps, whether it's taking payment or agreeing to do an audit, or whether it's simply saying goodbye. So many of you would have already read and memorized the high-ticket sales scripts of people from like Jordan Belfort or Alex Hormozy or like any other high-ticket sales coach or guru out there. So I'm just going to quickly go through these slides. So yeah, first starting with rapport. So it's all about just making a connection. So yeah, how's your day going, where you're calling from, and just set a clear expectation once you have broken the ice. So yeah, today's a pretty simple call. I'll ask you a few questions, understand what's going on, and see if we're a good fit. And if we are, then yeah, how we can work together. And then once they agree to that, you can go straight to the point. And then there's discovery. This is where you want to really understand their business and their goals. So this is pretty high level stuff. So yeah, you just want to understand their business and their goals. Yeah, give me a quick rundown of your business right now. What do you do? Who you serve? So yeah, just reconfirming the high level details of the lead. So anyways, you should know all of this by now, but yeah, it's just to recap and reconfirm and to show that you are attentive and that you actually want to understand their business, not just see them as another source of cash. And then you want to go into identifying the key goals. Like, you already know what their goals are, which is to maximize revenue, to reduce the number of lost leads because of missed calls, whatever. So yeah, it's just to recap, reconfirm, and we're on the same page. And if they had any other goals or problems to talk about, then they'll tell you in this section. So yeah, just ask quick questions like, what's your main goal in the next few months? Why is that important to you? What do you think will happen if you don't achieve that goal? And then yeah, you want to learn more about their current strategy. What's your best strategy so far for getting new business, getting more clients, getting revenue? And you want to understand what's stopping them from getting to the next level. Yeah, this is just for you to understand what their business is doing. And so they would have jumped on a call with you for a reason. They wanted, their current systems weren't working, so they came to you for a solution. And yeah, once again, you're just reconfirming and recapping what you need to understand their systems, what they've been doing. This will give you an idea of how your voice AI solution will be superior to what they currently have. So that leads to the next slide. So challenges and motivation. So you want to identify their challenges and identify their past attempts. What are their current systems and what have they tried to fix this? What are they currently doing? What are their systems and processes like? And then once you understand that process, you want to understand why that hasn't been working. And it also gives you an idea of how your voice AI system is superior to what they have and how they can deliver the results that they want, but they're not getting through their current systems and processes. And then you want to gauge the level of urgency that they have. So yeah, you want to ask, how important is it to solve this problem right now? And if you don't, what will be the consequences of that? This is just to gauge an idea of how urgent it is, and also how likely they are to buy. The stronger their desire to solve this problem, the more likely that they are going to buy from you. So this will give you a good idea of the possibility of them eventually working with you and becoming a client of yours. Humans are emotional creatures by nature. People are more emotional than logical. I don't mean trying to emotionally manipulate them or gaslight them or anything. This is just to make them feel excited about working with you, gauge the level of emotional impact that this has on the lead. You want to ask a question like, what would achieving this goal mean for you or your team? And if you don't achieve it, what do you think will happen? What do you think the consequences will be? So they need to dig deep down and understand how and realize just the importance of solving this problem immediately. So if they don't solve this problem right now, then they're not going to spend enough time with their kids, with their family. They're going to struggle to pay the bills. They are going to be exhausted. They are going to burn out. And this will make them realize the importance of solving this problem immediately. So that was it so far for the typical high ticket sales scripts. Yeah, if you have already read like books by Jordan Belfort or Alex Hormozi, you would have already been familiar with it. But that was a pretty universal sales script across all high ticket industries, whether it's an AI agency or a marketing agency or whether it's a consultancy. But for AI agencies, you have to add extra questions to your sales script because this is a more technical service. So you really need to understand more of the tech side and the systems that are involved. So you want to ask these following questions. You want to understand their current systems, their automations, their current processes, and the ideal solution. So yeah, for current systems, you want to understand what systems and tools that they are currently using. For example, you want to learn more about the CRM, their phone system, their booking software, their website, etc. This is to help you later on with the audit or the proposal that you will submit to the client. This will give you an idea of how complex the project will be. So for example, Go High Level, it's got pretty convenient integration, so it will be much easier for you to integrate your AI agents with their CRM. This will give you an idea of what you can and cannot do, and if you can, then how long it will take to complete the integrations, depending on the software and how difficult and complex it is. Some will only take a very short time to build the integrations, some might take even weeks. So this is just for you to build your timeline and get a gauge of how long it will take, how complex and difficult it will be, and this will help you with pricing your voice AI project in the future. And also this will make the onboarding much easier by understanding what they currently have and what they currently don't have. So for example, if they already use Twilio for their phone systems, then it will be much easier. You just need to get them to create a phone number for the voice agent. And if they don't, you can create a Twilio number for them and set up a phone number for them on the onboarding call. For AI and automation, you want to check if they're already using AI or any automation in their business. If they are already using AI or automation in their business, you want to understand what it entails, how to improve it, see if it's any different to what you have, and determine what else you can add to it. You'll be able to get an idea of what you need to add to your proposal to improve upon their current systems that they already have, and if they have already been burnt by terrible automations or AI solutions, then it's time for you to understand why that happened, how you can improve on that, and to show how your systems are different. And then you want to understand their current processes, like I said earlier. How they handling lead follow-up, appointment setting, customer support, is it all manual? You want to understand just how these processes usually happen. How often do they follow up? How many times do they follow up? Because I've seen lots of businesses, they don't follow up at all, or even if they do, they only follow up 2 or 3 times and then they give up and just abandon them. But that's not the way it should be, and that's exactly what AI agents help with. So yeah, you want to understand that, and you want to also understand how the typical interaction goes between a lead and the business. You want to understand what kind of questions the lead asks the business, and you want to understand the common objections that they have. This will help you design the voice agent and prepare a knowledge base with the right information and FAQs to handle these objections and answer these questions. And you want to ask this question: if you could wave a magic wand, what process would you automate first? So they would have many different problems, or they might just have one big problem. And this question is just to understand what exactly their main problem is. For example, if they say they want to automate follow-ups, this will give you an idea of what you need to focus on in particular. You can focus your energy on creating an AI agent that specializes in follow-ups, follows up every like 2-3 days or 1 week. So once you've asked the right questions and fully understood them and their current situation, it's now time to go into your pitch. When you provide your pitch, you want to make sure that the pitch is connected to their goals and to explain your solution briefly, outline the process and the results that they can expect to get. Make sure that you're taking notes during the sales call. You want to make sure that it's actually connected to their goals and pain points. You don't want to talk about the technicals behind it. They don't care about the technicals. They only care about the results. So yeah, start off with something like, based on what you've told me, you're struggling with follow-ups and your main goal is to have more clients. And then you want to explain your solution briefly, give your system a cool name. So for example, for me, the AI ecosystem. So we'll implement the AI ecosystem so you can get twice the booked appointments. And then you want to outline the process. And then you want to prepare for objections. So they're inevitably going to have objections. The most common objections are price concerns and the timeline. So they might be expecting like a result immediately. And if they do, then you have to explain to them that good things do take time and that depending on the complexity, it may take as quick as 2 weeks or it could take 6 weeks or even several months. So yeah, you want to be upfront about that, and you also want to address the concerns. So you want to tie it back to the ROI and the cost of not solving the problem. So for example, if they are scared about voice agents not working, then there's results skepticism. So in that case, you can share relevant case studies and specific metrics from similar clients and previous case studies and testimonials. And then yeah, you want to address concerns and demonstrations. And then if they have doubts about the AI, like it won't work or something, then yeah, you can provide a ROI calculator and also a personalized demo for them to try on the call. And this is something that I always do for each and every one of my sales calls. So I always prepare and present a demo for them. So I don't just present a generic appointment setter. I create a custom AI voice agent tailored to their business. I always keep a template agent or AI demo that works for most businesses. But before each sales call with a prospect, I quickly scrape their website and gather all the information that I can about them. And then I quickly create a voice agent that is tailored to their business. So let's say, for example, my prospect is Kangaroo Solar. Then I prepare a receptionist that goes, "Hey, it's Steve from Kangaroo Solar. How are you doing today?" And then it's going to talk about what Kangaroo Solar is, what they do, and if they want to book an appointment for a solar consultation. So yeah, I always prepare a personalized demo for them to help them understand what to expect, and they can imagine and picture how this is going to work for their business. You're basically showing them a real scenario of how a voice agent would handle a real interaction that they usually have. The point of having a demo is that promise, it gets attention. So AI gets attention, but it's ultimately the proof that sells. The proof is a personalized demo for them and your previous case studies at the end of each call. You want to confirm whether they are ready to move now or whether they need more information. If they're ready to move forward immediately, what you want to do is take payment, whether it's 10K paid in full. You can either do that or you can do milestone payments. Take an upfront payment immediately and then pay the rest after each milestone or pay the rest upon completion. So 50 now and 50 later when it's completed. However, if they're ready to buy now, don't waste the momentum. Take payment on the spot and then confirm the next steps immediately. Ideally, you'd like to get paid in full. So yeah, whether it's 3K or 10K or 20K, whatever, it's ideal to get paid in full, but many times they might hesitate. They will prefer something like milestone payments or pay 50 now and pay 50 later. So yeah, if that happens, that's okay. Just always take payment on the call if they are ready to go immediately. And also never ever start work without taking any payment. If they ask for like commission only, or if they ask like a payment upon completion, walk away. That is a red flag. And the second case is the more common case. They'll be interested, but they might not necessarily be ready. So this is where you suggest a proposal and a paid AI audit. So you want to outline a customized solution based on their needs, and then you want to present that through a proposal. You want to provide an in-depth analysis of their current situation based on all the information that you've collected so far during the call. You can go into an audit, so you can look through their current systems, identify the bottlenecks, the pain points, and their current inefficiencies. This will give you a chance to fully understand what their current problems are and what exactly you can do for them. Tailor your solutions based on their current problems and bottlenecks. And if they are ready to do an audit, then always take a refundable deposit. This will qualify prospects and it will also filter out time wasters. So there are cases where you do a full audit for them, but then they ghost you afterwards, or they just say, "I'm just not interested," and don't give a good reason. So if they're not ready, which I totally understand, like that's fine, like I have nothing against that, but if they really are interested, then they should be willing to pay a small refundable deposit. So you could take a refundable deposit of 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, whatever. So that basically just qualifies them. If they're not willing to pay that, then they're not really interested, and it's refundable anyway. After you do the audit and you present them the final proposal and the audit results, then they will look over it and then they will discuss it with you on a second follow-up call. And if they really like it, which is the main goal of it, look at the audit proposal and then they'll come to a decision whether this would be the right fit for us or not. And if it's not, then just ask them why they were not satisfied with the proposal and then just provide a refund for the deposit. But the goal of this is to make your proposal so good and so valuable that they have to go ahead with it. They should be getting so much value, so much insight, and should enlighten them to their current problems and highlight the importance of solving this problem immediately, and also highlight the benefits that they'll get if they solve this problem immediately. So you want to make your proposal and audit as good as you can. So yeah, don't half-ass the audit just because they're not a paying client just yet. You want to put as much effort into the audit as possible and make it as valuable as possible, because after all, that's how you get the client. You don't get clients by doing half-assed work. And like I said, you always want to confirm the next steps before finishing a call. So if you take payment on the call, book an onboarding call immediately where you'll finally onboard them as your client and get access to their systems so you can start working immediately. And if they go for an audit, then yeah, book a follow-up audit call to go over the audit and the proposal, answer any final questions that they have, and finally close them as a client. And now I'll go over the pricing strategy. So there are different pricing structures and strategies that you can use, and I'll be going over each different pricing structures. Pricing is really important because after all, you're doing difficult work and you need to be compensated fairly for the value that you provide. So the first pricing structure is build and release AI infrastructure. This is just a one-time build and release infrastructure. You build and release it onto their entire systems, and then after that you say goodbye, and they'll be entirely responsible for the systems that you have built for them. So this is a one-off project, although it's ideal that you upsell them into a retainer later on. Yeah, so I'll just quickly go over each pricing structure. The first advantage is that it has a very high upfront cash flow, so you can easily charge a high amount for this. You can charge minimum 5k, 10k, 15k, maybe even 20k depending on the complexity of the project and how comprehensive it is. And also, if you just build it for them and you say goodbye, then yeah, no ongoing support needed, so there's less work for you long term, so you're getting a lot of money for the one-time build and release. This is suitable for businesses that already have a good IT team, or a business owner or an employee who's very good with IT, so they can handle it afterwards. So in that case, you just build it for them and then you can just let them take care of it without them having to complain about something not working. But also that can be a disadvantage as well. If you don't build it properly and an error comes up, then they can blame you, they can chase you down, and like it becomes a lot of trouble. So in order to do this, you have to do it perfectly. And this also involves a lot of documentation and SOPs. So yeah, you will have to make training videos, you will have to make SOPs, instructions, etc. to make sure that they know what they're doing and how to actually take care of the systems that you build for them. So yeah, you don't want to build something that they don't know how to use. So yeah, you need to teach them and educate them basically. And also there's no recurring revenue stream. So once you build it, you're done. You have to find the next project to do. So if you don't get another project for a while, then yeah, this is just basically another famine or feast cycle, which you want to avoid as an agency owner. This is ideal for larger companies. This is ideal for enterprise organizations and clients that like the full control. And then there's minute billing. So this is where you charge a markup per minute that they use for the voice agents. Usually on retail AI, it's 12 cents per minute. If you use GPT 4.1 for the voice agents that you use, you charge a markup for the minutes that they use. So instead of charging them the unit cost of 12 cents a minute, you put like a 300-400% markup. So you could be charging like 50 cents a minute, 60 cents a minute, or even like $1 a minute. So this is a very simple and highly scalable pricing structure. It can have high margins and it can be potentially very lucrative. And it's also a low barrier for entry for new clients. So people who are reluctant to pay a large upfront fee, they can go for minute billing. So this is easier to access for some people. However, I don't recommend this as like a standalone, and that's for the following reasons. So it's very unpredictable in terms of revenue. So there's a lot of fluctuations and it's highly dependent on the call volume that they get. And also payment can be a huge pain in the ass. So because it's marked up, you have to chase down your clients, you have to make sure that they're paying on time, and yeah, this can just be a huge pain in the ass later on. I don't recommend minute billing pricing strategy alone, so I always recommend doing this with a retainer if you want to charge a markup for the minutes that they use. So yeah, I would just do like a high retainer with a low markup on the minute billing, or a low retainer with a very high minute billing, but never do this alone. That's my recommendation. And then there is the retainer model, which is where you get a fixed monthly fee paid to you for you to take care of the systems. So the main advantage is it's a stable, predictable source of income. So it's monthly recurring revenue for you to take care of the systems, to make any improvements, support them, and make any adjustments that are necessary. And this creates financial stability, and cash is always king. So cash flow is king. And then there's high client lock-in. So this basically creates an ongoing relationship between you and your client, and this creates upsell opportunities. So this is your chance to shine by providing as much value as possible to consult them, provide them as much valuable insights and recommendations as possible. So this is your chance to become a strategic growth partner, which is what you want to do later on. And also the pricing can be flexible as well. So you could blend a low retainer with high usage markup, or a high retainer with little or no markup on the minute billing. However, it does come with a con. So this is a relatively safe option and it's easy for scaling. However, it does come with cons as well. So it's not a perfect pricing model. You have ongoing responsibilities. You always need to be available. You need to provide support and maintain the infrastructure. So if clients are very demanding, they always want you to make it perfect. If clients make you want to change every single little thing, like maybe a single word in the prompt, that's going to really frustrate you. That's going to take away a lot of your time, and that might make your monthly retainer not worth it in the end. And also the client, they might not like paying you monthly in the future. Prevent that by providing as much value as possible. And then there's a revenue share or equity share. So this is a fun one. This is where you basically take a share of their equity, or you take a commission for each sale that they make. So if they get like a new roofing client for $15,000, you can ask for like a revenue share of 10%. So each new roofing client that they get, you earn like $1,500. So yeah, it has huge growth potential. So your earnings grow as the client business expands and as they grow. So yeah, you're both incentivized and have the same goal. So you want to get as much sales for them as possible, and they want to get as much sales as possible because they want to make money, right? So yeah, your incentives are aligned. However, it's also high risk, especially if you're only doing revenue share and no other forms of payments. I would never do this alone. Even if you do revenue share or equity share alone, you would only do this with vetted clients with strong growth potential, or that already have a very big presence. You wouldn't do this for a business that's only been working for about 2 years. You'd only do this for bigger companies. You also want to make sure that it's crystal clear in the contracts that define revenue calculations, and also you're at the mercy of their trust. So if they lie to you about sales and numbers, then yeah, it's going to be a huge pain in the ass. So if you're going to do revenue share, equity share, make sure that there's a high level of trust between you two. And yeah, I would just recommend going hybrid, a retainer model with revenue share or equity share. So just a quick recap of the pricing strategies and my personal recommendations. You always want to sell the build first, and then you want to upsell the retainer. So later on, once you have built the entire infrastructure for them, you want to make sure you upsell the retainer. You want to upsell your expertise as a consultant and for providing support and improving the systems that you have built for them. And as for usage, so per minute billing or like revenue share, you want to add that on top of the revenue that you want to eventually upsell to them. And you always want clear communication, and you always want to be on the same page, how much you mark up the minutes or what is eligible for revenue share, things like that. And also you want to have tiered pricing. You want to have a set number of features or integrations for each client. For example, if they want AI agents for 10 different features, then you obviously want different tiers. Tier 1, for example, has up to 3 different features, and Tier 2 has up to 5 different features. Tier 3 has like up to 10 different features, etc. So yeah, you want to tier, modulate, and structure your pricing method as well. And this should be reflective of the amount of work that you do and the complexity of the system. So obviously, like, not all systems are equal. Not all voice AI projects are equal. Some require a lot more complexity, a lot more work than others, and you want to reflect your pricing on that. So yeah, you don't want to build a really complex voice agent for 3K, for example. For example, I'll quickly go over my pricing structure. My voice agents, it starts at $3,000. Like one single inbound voice agent that acts as a receptionist. So for example, it just answers FAQs and books appointments, reschedules, cancels them, and just a few AI automations to synchronize with their CRM and calendar. And if they want to add anything else, so if they want a lead generation or like a text agent or like a chatbot done, then yeah, this will be an extra add-on. And then here for AI support and licensing, the monthly retainers I have structured here. It starts at $700 a month, and for that I only offer up to 3 monthly like voice agent upgrades. So if they want to change something, then yeah, that's going to take 1 upgrade. So yeah, I don't want to spend all my time just like watching out for every single little thing. I don't want to spend my time just like changing like a single word in their prompt like every single day just because they complained about something. So yeah, you want to set your limits here. And if they want more monthly upgrades, you would obviously charge more. If you offer more services, so on top of voice agents, you also do Facebook ads or you build like a chat bot for them, then obviously you would have to charge more. So like 1,500, 2,000, or even like 3,000 a month. But yeah, you want to make it clear what you offer. And yeah, I haven't added it yet, but I will be adding like a breakdown of the prices here soon. What you get at tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So yeah, I'm planning to do 1,500 a month for up to 6 upgrades or adding like 1 new feature a month or something like that. So that was it for the pricing section. Now I'll go on to the actual deployment, starting from onboarding all the way to actual deployment and optimization. Before the onboarding call, you always want to prepare a checklist. So yeah, check these off before your call. You want to review the sales materials, watch your recording, summarize all the information that you collected. So yeah, just analyze all the sales call notes, identify specific pain points, and think about how the voice AI solution will address these. And you also want to map out your solutions, map out how potential conversations will go, the flow of your voice agents, and the automations that you'll be building on N8N. And then you want to do technical research. So learn about the current CRMs and their systems and the integration capabilities to ensure compatibility. So yeah, you want to be able to create a timeline based on how complex the integrations will be, understand the limits that each of these systems will have. So yeah, you want to plan things like how the voice agent is going to synchronize with the CRM and how the post-call analysis will update the CRM, how you're going to process the post-call summary to update the CRM accordingly, moving them through the pipeline that they need to be followed up, something like that, and how to automate the follow-ups as well. And then yeah, you want to prepare the list of accounts that you need to create and all the credentials that you need to get for them. So for example, you'll need their OpenAI API keys. You'll need to create an account for them on Twilio or P Retail, whatever, and also set up the N8N on their account as well. Using the demo that you have provided to them on the sales call, you want to update it and make sure that it's actually ready to synchronize with their systems and their CRM. And you also want to set up the demo environments. And you also want to identify the risk as well. So identify potential roadblocks in advance to prevent delivery delays. So there's always going to be some sort of delay. So like something might not work, maybe like a test might not work out, or you're struggling with integration. So perhaps like a function doesn't work or something like that. Or you might have to like go away somewhere, maybe something urgent happens. So always have a backup plan ready. The perfect onboarding call structure is as follows. Always want to do some pre-call research, analyze their current technical infrastructure like I just mentioned, look at their current systems, connect that to your current offer and your voice agents, and then figure out how to ensure that your voice AI solution will actually work within their current systems. You want to set up their N8N account. You also want to set up their VAPI or Retail AI account, depending on which platform you use. And you also want to establish proper access permissions. So you want to get the access and credentials to their CRMs and to their booking calendar, so you can actually connect their APIs to your systems and to your solution. And you also want to set expectations and timelines. So yeah, establish your timeline. So week 1, you're going to do this. Week 2, you're going to do that. Week 3, you're going to start testing, things like that. Set a regular schedule for meetings. So you could do like weekly, bi-weekly meetings for just 30 minutes, just providing an update. And if you need anything else from them, or if they have any questions, you can answer them on the call. So always set aside some time every week or 2 so you can actually communicate with them. And communication is key during any project. So yeah, just remember that collaboration is what makes or breaks a project. So clients that are unresponsive, those projects, they usually don't work out very well. And I've had that happen before, and it's extremely frustrating for you. So for example, I needed to access a system that they were actually using, but they didn't disclose on the call and they weren't being responsive. So yeah, that was a huge pain in the ass, and like that got delayed as well. Yeah, you always want to set clear expectations for communication, and also establish a communication channel. So you establish like a Slack channel or like a WhatsApp group, so you have a way to communicate with them daily. And you also want to give them a chance to actually test out the voice agents that you build for them before you deploy them. And during the first week or two, you always want to talk to them daily. You always want to report what happened and what progress you made. If you need anything, answer any questions that they have. So the first week or two is the most important of any project. So you always want to be communicating with your client. You always want to make sure that they're happy and that something is actually going on. So yeah, you want to provide something valuable as soon as possible to make them happy and make them stay warm. Always maintain a high level of communication during the first week or two at the very least. Also, you want to confirm the scope. So make sure that the scope that you have written in the proposal, it actually aligns with what they have and they have nothing else to add. Yeah, there are cases where they realize that they need to add something, and if that happens, it's going to delay your project. It's going to be very frustrating. So yeah, you want to set clear expectations and limits on the number of revisions that they require for the scope. So yeah, you want to keep a clear boundary basically. And also you want to document everything, document all the work that you have done, and make sure that any approval or any change in scope or any changes are recorded in case any dispute or any conflict comes up, and to show that you have been doing your work and that you have been holding yourself accountable. So in terms of the timeline for any voice AI project, it goes something like this. During the first week, this is where all the discovery is done. If they pay in full on the first call and they don't go for an audit in the first week, you want to do a full audit of their systems, finalize the requirements, confirm any change in scope, and confirm the requirements. So that's basically what the first week will be like if you take payment in full and progress to the onboarding call without a proper audit. And if you had already done a full audit and the onboarding call goes as planned, you can start building within the first week. During the build, you would want to do prompt engineering. While you should ideally have a template for the voice agents that you build for them, you want to make sure that it's actually tailored to their business, to their brand, their values, their style, what actually sounds like them. So it's not another generic AI voice agent that just sounds like an NPC. So prompt engineering is how you really personalize a voice agent to a client and make them as human as possible without sounding like an NPC. And yeah, this is when you start building the automation, so the workflows and the AI agents like behind the scenes. So the scheduling agent and like the scheduling workflows, CRM synchronization, things like that. And yeah, this is where the integrations are done and you start doing internal testing. So during the testing phase, there's two types of testing. So the first one is internal testing, where you and your team do the testing. This can be done both manually and automatically. If you do use automated voice agent testing platforms, it's significantly going to speed up the project, but you still need to do manual testing to see how it sounds and to actually make sure that it sounds good and indistinguishable from a human, and to ensure that it sounds like the best quality possible. You don't want to put out like a half-assed voice agent that pronounces things terribly or just sounds weird in general. So I do recommend automatic testing, but manual testing, you cannot skip that. And also quality assurance protocols, make sure that it's actually transcribing the words properly, and make sure that it's able to handle objections, answer any questions that the lead may have, and to ensure that it's actually able to make phone transfers whenever it's necessary. You also want to do things like edge case testing, so asking questions that are completely irrelevant from what it's intended to do. So for example, calling a doctor's receptionist and asking for sushi or like chicken noodle soup, see if it's able to handle all of that in a good manner without being rude, offensive, or robotic. Just before you deploy it, you want to always get the client to try it out. Get the client and the teams to try it out. Try simulate like a typical call that they would have with customers and make sure that it's actually performing as they intended, and make sure that they approve of it. At the end of the day, they have to like it. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. If they don't like something, just make a quick adjustment and then you want to go live. So a quick quality assurance checklist is make sure of these things. So voice clarity, make sure it speaks in a natural tone and has a consistent brand voice, so it actually sounds as if a sales representative from that company actually speaks, and make sure that it sounds authentic, because you don't want to release a robotic voice agent out there. Make sure that the responses are accurate, factually and contextually correct and appropriate to customer inquiries. And yeah, you always make sure that the integrations are working. For example, the bookings are actually working and the CRM is synchronized in real time. Make sure things are being updated and leads are being followed up on time, because if you release something to follow up with potential leads but it doesn't, that's going to look really bad on you, and that's not what you intend. And then there's fallback triggers. So there's something that may go wrong during that time. OpenAI might have an outage, 11 Labs might have an outage. So you always keep backup plans. So for example, if 11 Labs goes out, then you have a backup voice, which you can set on like Vappy and Retail. You want to have some performance metrics. Make sure that the latency, the time taken between receiving a response and giving a response by the voice agent is under 2 seconds. Ideally, it should be around 500 to 1200, but yeah, always keep it under 2 seconds. If it takes 5 seconds to respond, it's going to be very bad. Make sure that the success rate is around 85%. Make sure that it's able to handle most inquiries, and you want to minimize the number of times that it transfers to a human because it couldn't solve the problem. After all, we want to save time for the client. And also, when you deploy, you do something called a soft launch. Initially, just make the AI handle only missed calls or after-hour calls. So let's say, for example, a sales representative cannot pick up the phone at the time. Then it's going to transfer to the AI voice agent to take the message and make any bookings or adjustments if necessary, and taking after-hour calls. So this is just to collect the initial data. And during the first 1 week or two, this is the most important step. So you want to make sure that it's actually performing as intended, and if there's any kind of errors that show up, then you want to fix them as soon as possible, because this is a make or break phase of any voice agent project. So if it's not working, if the client isn't happy, if something happens, if somebody gets angry, it's going to look really bad on you, right? And it's going to break the trust and your relationship. So during the first week or two, you should always be on the lookout in case something happens. You should always be communicating and reporting to your client every day. Make sure that everything's on track. And then after 1 week or two, once you have sufficiently monitored your voice agent and make sure that it's actually working as intended, then you can consider doing a full deployment, which is when the AI receptionist just takes over all the calls. But that might not be the case. Some people, they might just only want like a voice agent for missed calls or after-hour calls, and that's fine. But yeah, the point is, if you're going to do a full deployment, always do a soft launch first. So yeah, the first 2 weeks of deployment is the most critical of any voice AI project. This is the time when it either breaks or makes your AI voice agent project. This is the intensive monitoring period. So this is where daily check-ins with the client are required for feedback collection. So yeah, you want to always be on the lookout, make sure that the voice agent is performing as intended. And if any kind of error comes up, that you fix the error swiftly and correct it. This is where you make real-time adjustments to the prompt and the workflows to make sure that everything is working like clockwork. You want to analyze as many calls as possible, if not all of them, to make sure that the calls are sounding smooth and natural, and to reduce the error rate as much as possible. Tune the performance, improve it for response times and accuracy. So this is basically building the foundation for a long-term relationship. And this is your time to prove the value of your voice AI solution. And if you fuck this one up, then it's going to look really bad on you. So I'll quickly go over what data you need to collect during deployment. You want to measure the AI's impact on business goal achievement and ROI. You want to collect things like how many appointments did it book, how many leads did it qualify successfully, and how many calls did it handle successfully. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we want to save time and make more money for the client while also doing like a really good job. So yeah, conversion rate obviously is very important. And yeah, you also want to calculate things like the user satisfaction, making sure that the overall experience is smooth and making sure that each and every caller is happy with their experience. Call completion rate. So this is basically just tracking customer satisfaction and successful interaction rates, and maximizing the number of calls that it handles successfully and minimizing the number of times that it needs to transfer the call to a human, because after all, we're trying to save time for the human team, right? And then, yeah, we want to minimize the number of errors. So yeah, we want to identify systematic issues that require like prompt engineering fixes. So yeah, we want to identify where like it goes wrong. This is to change the prompt and tune the voice agent. And finally, we need to make sure that the backend system is reliable and the data is flowing accurately. So yeah, we need to make sure that the CRM is being synchronized properly to make sure that things like the lead is being moved through the pipeline. So now that we've deployed it, we need to optimize the system. So what do we need to do during the optimization phase? We need to be monitoring. We always need to be collecting data. We need to identify patterns and find ways to improve and update the agent. We need to analyze what's working and what's causing issues. And once we have identified these and analyzed them, we need to make the necessary adjustments. And yeah, we also need to continue testing, especially if we decide to add new features, because there are many cases where you update an agent, but it stops working in one area or it doesn't work as intended. You remember how I said earlier that it's ideal to build and release infrastructure client, but it's ideal to upsell them to a retainer later and keep them on for a long time? That is the goal. Charge a high upfront fee and then keep them on as long as possible. So you want to prove your value and show them that by having you on board, they're going to get an immeasurable amount of value. So this is where you transition from being a simple agency, from being like another vendor, to a growth partner. So as an agency owner who just provides voice AI solutions, you're another vendor. A vendor mindset is you're just doing one thing and you're done. So your role is limited, and once you have delivered your role, you're done, you're gone. This makes it a very transactional relationship. If you have studied business, you would know that lifetime value is king. So we want to maximize the lifetime value of each client. Let's say, for example, like we have a setup fee of $10,000 and we have a monthly retainer of $1,000, and the year value of that client would be $22,000, and we want to maximize that. So we can go beyond like 10, 20K like lifetime value for a client. So how do we do that? We become a growth partner. So we don't just provide voice AI solutions. We provide comprehensive AI solutions. As we work with them, we're going to collect more data, we're going to gain more knowledge, we're going to gain more experience. So we're going to learn more about not only their business, but also about their industry. We're going to understand more about the pain points that this industry suffers from. As you collect more data, as you work with them for a longer term, you're going to understand these things better, and you'll be more qualified to provide more strategic consulting advice. So this progresses into a long-term business development role. So as you work with them longer, as you get closer with them, you'll understand them better, you'll get to know their business better. And then, this is your chance to identify these different bottlenecks and identify ways to expand. So you have collected a lot of data in the market by now. And then based on that data, you're able to make recommendations, provide consulting, and provide strategic advice. You'll eventually develop a deep business understanding, and by having a valuable growth partner on board where you're able to advise them, you'll be making yourself an invaluable asset. This isn't just making shit up or pulling a random number or fact out of your ass. This will be backed up by the data that you collect and your cumulative knowledge and understanding from everything that you have seen and worked with so far. So you'll actually know what you're talking about, and you'll have the right data to back it up. So by the time you have worked with them long term, you'll have these understandings and they will trust you more. So it's not like a random 5-year-old kid telling them how to become a billionaire. You'll actually know what you're doing. And by doing this, you'll be transitioning from a simple vendor or agency owner to a growth partner. So simple 3K projects evolve into 50K annual partnerships through expanded services like consulting, data analytics, internal automations, and any other solution that you can identify to help them grow. And just before we wrap up, I just want to quickly go over the 5 biggest delivery mistakes and how to avoid them. First, there's weak communication, so leaving clients uninformed. Like I said, during the first 2 weeks, it's absolutely crucial that you communicate with your client on a daily basis. Make sure that you're reporting what you did and what your next steps will be. Make sure that they're actually getting some value out of it. They just want to know that you're onto it and that you're really keen to get things started and to make things work for them. So this is just a simple fix. Just communicate with them on a daily basis. Make sure that they're being updated, that they know what's going on, and that they're on the same page as you. And then there's the second delivery mistake, accepting change of scopes so freely, because it really isn't nothing. Because changing scopes, it's extremely inconvenient. This can change your plans entirely. And if that happens, it can be extremely frustrating. You want to keep your limits. You want to set clear boundaries and limits on changing scopes. Changing scopes shouldn't be as easy as changing clothes, for example. So if they do decide to change scope, if it's significant, make sure that they know that the timeline will change and that things will be delayed. And make sure that they agree to compensate you fairly if they decide to change the scope and you have to do extra work for them. And the third one is also a very big one, inadequate testing. Like I said, if you have a voice agent out there that's half-assed, that you didn't put much effort into it, it's going to sound not only really bad, but it's also going to reflect really bad on you and also your client. And also, if AI performs badly, it's just going to become another case study of why AI is bad and why it should be resisted, and that's something that you want to avoid. After all, it's replacing some of humans' work, so it has to be as good as a human. Anyways, just make sure that it's tested adequately and make sure that you've ticked off your checklist for the quality assurance checklist that I had provided before. And another common mistake is poor expectation management. So the client may be unaware of the AI's capabilities. They'll think AI is going to be perfect. They think it's going to perform better than a human. They think it's going to be like 100% perfect, but make sure that they're not expecting that, because if they expect that and even one mistake happens, it's going to ruin the relationship. And AI, like, it's not meant to be perfect. Humans aren't perfect either. Neither is AI. So just make sure that they understand the capabilities and also the limitations of AI. And also the fifth and final common mistake that I see is underscoping the complexity. So you always want to make sure that you understand just how complex it's going to be, how long it's going to take, so you don't burn yourself out. And if you don't meet the timelines because it was more complex than you think, they're not going to be happy, right? Like, at the end of the day, they want to follow the timeline, and some will be understanding, but it's still frustrating. So yeah, you want to make sure that they're happy, right? So you make sure that you get this right early on. So some of these mistakes can happen because of the client, and these are red flags. The client, they might have unrealistic expectations about AI being perfect, and they might always ask for little changes. They might burn you out by making you change something every single day. It's going to be really frustrating. They're always going to ask for a change in scope, and they're not going to communicate well. So if you need access to something, or if you need to ask a question and they don't respond well, it's going to delay the timeline, and they want to micromanage technical decisions. You have to make it clear that you should be trusted with the technical decisions. And if they don't trust you, or if they treat you like a slave, or if they think you're like their servant, then that's a red flag. If a client thinks you're an employee, their slave, whatever, then walk away, because that is a red flag. And yeah, it's not worth the mental stress, trust me. So that was it for this very long video. I hope it was value packed and provided you a clear idea of how to provide the best possible voice AI project and what to do during your voice AI project. If you found this video useful, please leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, you can also join my free community, the AI Avengers, down below, where you're able to access my free voice AI templates and network with other successful business and agency owners that are leveraging AI. And if you want one-on-one AI consulting with me to build and scale your agency, or you want AI consulting for your established business to identify the bottlenecks in your business and to get a step-by-step roadmap and clear insights on how to leverage AI into your business to achieve your goals and solve your problems, then fill out the expression of interest form down below. Remember, I am very selective about this, so this is not a generic course where you just watch some videos and you just go implement it yourself. I actually help you step by step. I hold your hand, so I make sure that each and every one of my clients finds success. So I'm very selective about it. So yeah, fill out the form down below if you're interested in that. And finally, if you want voice AI implemented into your business, then book your free discovery call down below. That's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.